Hi everybody, this is Shiro from Guided Soul-ution, and on this episode of From the Heart, I wanted to explore the question of what is being spiritual. I guess in this field, and a lot of people that may tune in, talking about spirituality becomes sort of normal. We can talk about, ascension and even 5D consciousness, or talking about healing and meditation and prayer and all these things. And I understand that from that perspective we call that spiritual journey and things like that. But when we think that those are the things that defines our spirituality, I think we're missing something there. And this was kind of triggered by a friend of mine who was in the band with me. And in my musical world, I don't talk about what I do. I don't, really assert any spiritual lingos or anything. I match the language to whatever surroundings. But because this person knew what I did, he said, well, I'm not spiritual like you, but this and that. And I was like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you're not spiritual just because you don't do the things I do or even speak the things, the lingos and terminologies that I speak. First that reminding that person, hey, first and foremost, your spirit having a physical experience, which he was in agreement with. And I said, automatically you have a spiritual journey. You are a spiritual being, whether you know it or not. And on top of that, it's not even what you know, I had to tell him. I said, it's the quality of your life that's going to reflect your spirituality. And that led me to really kind of reflect back to my world, for lack of better words, the community that I'm with, And I had to ask myself, does speaking that lingo really reflect or make us spiritual? Does meditation or prayer make us spiritual? Or definition of spiritual is, what is that? If it's about our inner journey, if it's about growing deeper within ourselves and becoming more and more self-aware, and subsequently evolving toward an ascending manner, then really what we know and what we do isn't the thing that defines the spirituality. I kind of remember the time that I was in religion, where how much you read the Bible or how much you pray, or if it's a different religion, maybe the Quran or anything else, but going to church regularly, all of that became sort of the subconscious measurement of how close we are to God. And subsequently, when we don't do those things, right? Because I even ask the clients, are you religious? Before we do a session, I always ask, I want to respect their religion. Oh, I'm Catholic or I'm Christian or whatever, but I don't, I'm Muslim, but I don't go to church or mosque or whatever. And they have this sense of guilt that they don't really practice it by doing the activities. But I ask, do you believe that you are a soul and that you are connected to an infinite divine? Most likely the answer is yes. So even as I was a religious person, the idea of how much we pray, how much we read the Bible, being the measurement of our depth of spirituality didn't make sense to me. But it's often the way people measure how spiritual you are. But my reminder is actually from my religious background of reading the Bible, where the passage says, "You shall know a tree by its fruit," that a good tree will bear good fruit. And what that really means to me is that our virtues and the characters that oozes out of us is the essence of what defines our spirituality. So if we know the teachings of the masters inside out, we understood and agreed even with the teachings and prayed every day or meditated every day, even fasted perhaps, and even be intuitively gifted, but yet not have the basic sense of decency or courtesy or kindness or respect, then there is no life to that person's spirituality. It doesn't mean anything, because in the end, the essence of spirituality has nothing to do with the performance and result. And certainly it's not about how much we know. I feel that state of enlightenment isn't about achieving some kind of moral high code or attaining some sense of godlike demeanor. Enlightenment is a state of awareness, of being self-aware in your light and who you are in the light and what you have in your shade. And the true heart of our spiritual journey is about how much we care about our inner journey, about what the world around us means for us, being aware and observant. So when someone triggers us, we go, oh, that must be something I need to learn, or something I'm still not integrated with. It's about the awareness and care that goes into our choices and our actions. And these knowledge and activities like prayer and meditation, and how much we know about spirituality, about different dimensional consciousness or our reincarnation, and even having the intuition to tap into things. These are things that aid and to guide or enhance our spiritual journey. It's not what constitutes the level of our spirituality. So the opposite of that is that we also don't need to know anything about spirituality, speak any lingo or terms of spiritual, or even have acknowledgement about God or anything. But if that person is being true to themselves and values things like respect and kindness and courtesy and things like that, and that oozes out of that person, then that's really what makes that person spiritual. And in that sense, all of us, every one of us, regardless of what we know, how smart or dumb, or whatever people think about how we come, that we always will have everything we need within us to know Because as long as we are being aware, we become aware of who we are, that is the awakening or the sense of spirituality beginning to come to life, I guess. How we care about, how the person cares about their actions and how that affects the world around that person, that is the manifestation of that person's depth of spirituality. I think that the easiest and the clearest and the simplest way to define what a spiritual journey is all about is about the balance of love and wisdom. Love is the aspect of us, that the care that goes into our thoughts and choices. It's the care that goes into what we do, right? And it's also the driving force that keeps us moving forward. And wisdom is the guidance. It's the thing that helps to redirect us, to put us back on the path of our highest good, to create that highest trajectory. And so mistakes and pain and struggle in our lives is the thing that gives us, germinates that wisdom. Until then, it's just knowledge. So it means that simply caring enough about ourselves and others to live from the heart, and caring enough to be self-aware and learn as we go, that's spiritual living. So what I feel is most dangerous, I guess, where I would really be cautious, is once a person thinks that they are spiritual or that they know stuff. That's when it becomes most susceptible to, I guess, comfort, right? There's comfort in thinking that you know and that you're doing the right thing. But in the end, if your life isn't reflecting, if the virtues of that character of the inner journey and integration, if those virtues aren't oozing out of you, then you must question, where is the center of my belief system? What is my spirituality then? Because the fruit is the thing that reflects what's within the tree. It doesn't matter how big and many branches the tree has. If it's still bearing rotten fruit, that person's spiritual journey is not, if we define spiritual journey as the evolution and ascension or expansion of consciousness, it's not happening. Because that's kind of what I saw in the religious atmosphere, is that there was this sense of, I'm safe, I got it made with God, right? Because I come to church, I pray every day, I read the Bible, I tithe. And then there's more hypocrisy. More people who just sit in the comfort of being in their own little social club because there's comfort in being able to speak to each other in the same language. And I do feel that even in what we regard in the current what we call the spiritual community, I see that, where we can speak to each other about different things and even agree and be, oh yeah, but how much of that knowledge is actually coming to life in the form of wisdom? Then that person's spirituality, for lack of better words, is not thriving. Because in the end, no matter how we may appear to know or act, we all connect to the quality of the vibe of one another, right? That's where we connect. So a self-destructive person will feel more at home with other abusive energies or drama, just as victim energy and bully energy tend to connect. So your spiritual tribe may not necessarily speak the same language or even do things really differently. But if the basis of our vibe is connected to some sense of love and embracing wisdom, then you have a spiritual connection, even if that person doesn't acknowledge spirituality in regards to terminology and speaking, and even in the sense of belief system. And that, to me, is the definition of being spiritual. So today I just really wanted to put the emphasis on the essence of what comes out of the person, what is projecting from that person in regards to, and sometimes it may not manifest until there's conflict. But how intuitive you are, how much you know about spirituality. Oh, I know that stuff. Or how much you do spiritual things is not going to be what defines the depth of their spirituality. It will be in the virtues and the characters that they are oozing out of themselves, and their sense of care, their sense of pursuit of it. Because oftentimes I get people going, well, when they're looking for someone to meet and to date, and because they are spiritual, they want to find somebody else that's spiritual. But there are many spiritual narcissism out there. There are many sociopathic state that speaks the language of spirituality. And so don't let those things be your sense of deciphering or discerning how spiritual that person is. And also, don't let that be your narrative. If you feel you're spiritual, always look to the wisdom that is part of your system, the embodiment of it, the pursuit of it. Let that be to how well you connect to your heart, how honest you are to yourself, how authentic you are to yourself. Don't fall into the trap of judging the level of a person's spirituality by their amount of knowledge or how they appear. It's in the vibe, it's evidenced in their virtues, characters. So that's kind of what I wanted to share today. I hope this added value to you. Thank you for spending time with me here. If you are interested in having a personal session with me, please find my contact information in the description box below. I appreciate you liking and subscribing to my channel. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free. I always share what's in my heart, what's on my heart, as observations and inspirations. It is never something that I dictate as the ultimate truth. There is no right or wrong. Anyone who gets in the conversation about what's right or wrong, help by helping to challenge that sense of limitation. We may all be looking at the same thing, but looking at it from a very different dimensional angle. And this is me sharing my perspective of the multidimensional truth. So with that said, until the next time, thank you for being here from the heart. Signing off. Namaste.